Good morning and welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 190, How to Ignore Bad Teammates, Improve VoD Review, Hone Your Instincts, and so many good questions today. I actually didn't even know how to title the show. Normally, I choose kind of a clickbaity title. I try to choose something that is that contains information about the show and the questions on the show, but pulls you in a little bit. I didn't even know how to title the show. I decided just to use all of the questions that I could in the title because they're all so amazing. We have a really exciting and I think knowledge-filled show ahead of us. Maybe a few stories here and there as well. Again, testing out a second pair of shades. If you're watching on the podcast, if you're listening on the podcast, I apologize because you can't see how freaking lit these are. And I do mean lit, like we're talking fire color here. But my eye is recovering just fine, and I want to make sure that I don't strain it. That's a lie. I don't care about the strain. I just care about all the 50 million comments I'm going to get. Oh, Weldon, what's wrong with your eye? And I'm going to get these. Trust me, I've been on YouTube for a long time. I'm going to get these years in the future. People find my video, and they comment, hey, man, hope your eye's doing well. And it was 2 years ago that I filmed the video. So due to that, I have decided to opt in on wearing sunglasses for the show. I'm not trying to imitate Dr. Disrespect or Casey Neistat, but it's a very handy tactic to employ. Announcements. We have our very first Training Tuesday tomorrow, Friday night or Saturday morning, depending on our time zone. And somebody has signed up. Sean? I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name. We'll get with him. We're going to start the Training Tuesday right after this show. So if you're on YouTube and you don't usually watch the show live, you should check out twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon because after the show tomorrow, we're going to have a Training Tuesday. I should probably eliminate Tuesday from the name of this thing now that it happens on, Saturdays and Wednesdays. But anyway, we're going to have a training day where I train a player in a game. Sports psychology in action, folks. Come and see it if you're interested. And then we have another one later in the weekend, I think Sunday or Monday. I'm not really sure when, and I'm not going to look now. But yeah, tune into twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon with a follow and a little notifications message on your phone, which you can get from the follow effect on the Twitch app. And that is how you will catch these Training Tuesdays. They come right after this talk show. Other announcements. You can sign up for those, by the way, in the Discord. There's a link below this video. Go down there and sign up in the Discord, and you can get a free 1-hour session with me if you are chosen. We're going to do them multiple times a week, so I think that I'll get through everybody who's kind of coming in and applying. We only have, I think, 40 or 50 so people who've signed up right now. And I think that that's a good deal, considering that I normally charge, anywhere from 80 to 150 euros an hour for these. I think that you are getting a fantastic opportunity to learn from, I don't want to say learn, to train with somebody who's had the opportunity to train pro players as well. Very exciting. Any other announcements? I think we're good. Should we kick off the show? All right, let's jump into the first question. Okay, the first question here comes from Yasha. And you can submit these questions on anchor.fm/Weldon Green. Make sure that you do so today because I just ran out of questions for the show, like completely. These are the last 4 questions that I have in my databank of questions that I have on Anchor. And I was kind of worried because usually when I get to the dregs, like which happens on Twitter sometimes, I kind of got to choose to go with it. Like I don't have the option anymore to skip a question, because these are the last 4, so I have to use them. I can't say that one's not a great question. Let me skip it, go to the next one, which I usually never do, okay, because they're usually really, really good. But today I was super excited to hear how amazing these last 4 questions are. If I was going to choose the best questions of the week, and I was filtering through all of them, these might be the ones that I would have chosen. So I'm really excited for you guys and for me that I get to answer them. I'm so curious what I'm going to say. Let's jump in.
Hello Weldon, Yasha here. I'm looking for a way to make my VoD reviews more productive. Since you said looking at the mirror is very important and people tend to spend too much time with the idol, I've started to do the VoD reviews. But right now, they do feel very Captain Hindsight to me. Like seeing yourself die and saying, hey, you shouldn't have engaged there, or hey, you should have not went there without vision, is very easy. But I don't actually feel like I'm learning much from that. So if there are any methods that help making VoD reviews more productive and you could share, I'd be very thankful for that. Thanks.
Okay, Yasha, thank you for the question. Jumping into VoD review techniques. I had a number of ideas on this before the show. Let me see if I can dredge them back up. And if not, I'll come up with new ones. Basically, the most important thing is that you are... Okay, here's a couple things I want you to do. First of all, let's start by stopping to just VoD review fast forward through the whole thing, okay? If they're not triggering you mentally or stimulating you in some way, then we can cancel that. What I want you to do is review the game mentally first, okay? I want you to go through the VoD in your head and pick out the most important moments in the game for you, okay? The ones where you're like, this is where we lost the game. Like, this is such a bad play, blah, 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 blah. Or, oh my gosh, I completely threw, and after that, I could never recover, and the game was totally over, okay? I want you to pick out these moments, and I want you to write them down, okay, to start with. And I want you to remember how hopeless it felt like in the game, or how overpoweringly confident you felt after this play that you were absolutely going to win no matter what. And then I want you to go to that moment in the game and review the facts. So you just looked at it subjectively according to your memory, and now I want you to replace your memory with objective reality. I want you to see what the goal differential is. I want you to see what the opposing team did. I want you to see how close the game really is or isn't. And I want you to use that to readjust your sensor, your ability to determine how bad or good the game is. And what I have found is that when I train pro teams this way, so when I have them list the most important crucial parts of the game for them, their brain chooses these moments where it was like the end of the game, right? For them, it was. Then we go to the VoD, and it was just like a normal run-of-the-mill moment of the game for everybody else. And when their subjective experience of that moment differs so wildly from their objective observation of that moment, it helps the brain correct that kind of estimation in the actual game itself when it's live. So that you have a lot more hope when things go bad, that like things aren't really that bad, they just feel hard to play, where you are. And things aren't really that good, and you probably shouldn't troll because the opposing team is not that far away from obtaining victory from you also. Like, look at the goal differential. It's not that large. Just a few items here and there. A few stats here and there. One step or one auto attack in the wrong direction, basically. So that's the very first thing I would do, is start to see VoD review as a way. VoD review fundamentally is a way for you to correct your imagery of the game and your assumptions of the game and your estimations of the game to the accurate one. So if you're just kind of going through VoD review and not getting things from it, then you have to change up what you're doing. You can't keep doing that. It's not really going to help all that much. I would say the very first thing you should do is that technique. What is it called? A drill. That little activity that I gave you. And then to build from that, I would say that you're going to be looking for things that you don't already know. So I want you to look for mistakes that you don't know that you already made in the laning phase. You should enter into it with very questioning mentality. You should say, like, how could I possibly how could I possibly have done this better, and see if you can come up with ideas or options. But more importantly, you need to work on your predictive abilities. So I would say, like, eliminate, like, put on the fog of war and say, like, okay, where is the opponent? I just saw this situation and I don't know where he went. This is the path I think he took. Then show fog of war and look and see what he actually did. Because when you make a prediction and then you're right or wrong, your brain learns from that. It learns from the forecasting. It doesn't work just to watch the opposing pathing, Okay, the opposing jungler's pathing. I don't ever want you to do that. Not even once. I want you to predict the opposing jungler's pathing, and then I want you to be correct or incorrect. That is the test or the quiz that you want to give yourself, and use the VoD to check your answers. Okay. Quiz, check your answers. Quiz, check your answers. Imagery, visualize this play, check your answers. Okay, it's all about like loading your brain with a piece of factual knowledge of where you are right now, your gold 3 estimation of the play or of the jungler pathing or whatever, or the diamond 5, whatever, and then checking reality and being right or wrong, and then moving your brain towards that ability to forecast it correctly. Okay, let's jump into the second question.
Hey, Weldon, it's been a while. It's Love. How you doing? I just want to ask you something. Basically, I've been playing a lot of games lately. I've been playing about 10 to 20 games a day, and I've been going on really good winning streaks. My last winning streak was about 8 or 9. The problem I'm having is now, though, is I'm on the buys. I had a 4-game loss streak. And the problem I'm having is I have a lot of teammates who do things wrong. I've been playing 80 carry lately, and last game I had a Nami who didn't build any support items. She built a Luden's Echo. She built a Marillanomicon, stuff like that. And I had a Yas the game before that who had a lead, but instead of just pressing his lead and winning us the game, he started trying to go in 1v5 every 2 seconds. How do I not flame people like? How do I not get angry about that? How do I improve my gameplay and not worry about theirs? Thanks, Weldon.
All right. Good question. That is a question that I had to ask myself for years before I found the answer. And the answer was something along the lines of acceptance. Like, first of all, I accepted that no matter how many teammates I had, I was the common factor between them, and the real problem was my lack of time or gift of time. So either I had enough time to statistically beat the ladder ranking and end up at the correct ELO that I was, or I didn't have enough time to play enough games, so I had to rely on luck in order to win more games than I lost and climb the ladder. And so if I didn't have enough time to play enough games to actually make the ladder accurate to my own skill, I just had to accept that about my life. Like, I just wasn't in the stage of life or the place or the moment where I could put that kind of time commitment into the ladder, and so I had to let it go. I had to let the rank go and be a lot more based on luck. And the luck of, by the way, of being one out of the 10 people that determines the outcome of the game. Okay, so you are 1/10, and there are 9 other factors in the game that humans that are going to determine the outcome of the game as strongly as you are, in terms of the ranking and whether the game is a win or a loss. So you have very little agency in this situation, and you have to kind of let go the result and bank on the fact that you're the commonality between all these games, and if you play enough, you will always hone towards your proper ranking in the ladder. And sometimes that's difficult for people to accept. Sometimes that proper ranking in the ladder is no, I should be higher, when in reality, you're not. So that's a little bit of acceptance going on there. Okay, so once you hit that point mentally, then it's about thinking about, okay, well, how can I affect my teammates? So I've managed to shut them out of my own identity. I've managed to shut them out of my own estimation of myself. Now, how do I try to improve my standing? By improving my teammates. And then once you get in a mental place where you've already given up on the game, then you can do it authentically. Okay, I think that's an important step, because too many people are wrapped up in the result of the game and then try to influence their teammates to win. That's not wrong necessarily, but it leads you to a lot more pain when things don't go right, and it leads you to make some selfish decisions which might not work for the people you're trying to influence. So you're trying to influence a person by saying what you want to say to win the game, what you want them to do to win the game, but you really need to get your head around is saying the thing that they need to hear in order to feel better about themselves and their life. And then maybe they play better as a result, or maybe they don't. So one of the reasons that I push this acceptance thing first is to get you into the mental space where you have already given up on the result of the game and you are serving your teammate as a fellow teammate versus trying to get something from them, which is the win, okay, or the victory. That's not what leadership is. Leadership isn't getting something from your followers. Leadership is improving and leading your followers and your team to a better place. And sport is a vehicle for that movement, okay? It's not that you win and you become a better person. It's that you do sport, and through sport, you have the opportunity to be bettered. Okay, you also have the opportunity to be worsened and to be bullied and to be picked on and to suck and to lose and to be depressed. Okay, so let's try to make sport serve all of humanity and your teammates. So what you want to do is, once you get into that accepted mindset and you've already given up on the game, then you step forward and you say, okay, this guy might be having a really bad day, or he might be super excited that he's gotten ahead. It's his first game in like 100 games where he's gotten ahead, and he remembers like last time when he was ahead and he got 42 kills and 6 assists and 0 deaths, and he was like, oh, that feeling, I want that feeling so bad. That he wants that feeling in his body, and it's more important to him than winning. How you win sometimes more important than if you win, and he wants to win that way. He wants to win by carrying and dominating and crushing people, okay? And so, I mean, if you want to give him that feeling, you can start to, if that's what he needs to hear, you can premeditate it. You can be like, oh my gosh, you're so dominating, man. Just carrying this game. It's like making it so easy for us to play. You don't even need to kill people. Just the pressure you're applying, you start like kind of teaching a little bit in there, but you're trying to give him what he needs and what he wants to hear. Or if you have somebody who's just like, maybe that person just wants to play the support role in that way. Like they just want to play carry, right? So talk to them, as a human. Say, hey, how's it going? How's your life? Do you usually play support? Start with that, Maybe they're a mid laner playing support, and you're like, oh, yeah, I understand that. Sucks when you get autofilled into the support role, and then, you kind of want to do damage. You want to see the big numbers. I get it. Maybe they want that more than they want to win, and that's just the end of it, right? And you got to talk to them as a person and kind of like, maybe if you connect to them one-on-one as a person, you can get compassion from them, and they will start making choices that are more conducive to winning versus their own self-satisfaction. But that's not a given, and so it's good that you've already died on your cross before you kind of step into the servant role, the leader role, which is a servant role, just FYI. Okay, thanks for the question, love, and thanks for calling back in. Everybody appreciates hearing the sound of your voice, although you have been dethroned. Just so we're clear here, you've been dethroned by Greg. Let me scroll down and find one of Greg's questions. Listen to this.
Hi, Weldon. My name's Greg.
Yeah, sorry, love. You were on the top for like a solid, month and a half there, and then Greg just came in and demolished your standings on the voice that we want to listen to. Number one, top of the pyramid, kind of radio-esque quality. All right, let's jump into the next question. This one was from CJ.
Hey, Weldon. I was wondering if teaching someone actually helps you learn. For example, does teaching someone new to League of Legends the fundamentals help your understanding of them? I feel like you hear about this from high school teachers all the time. Is there any merit to this?
All right, short, sweet, to the point. I love it. And my belief is yes. And it's part belief and part I know a little bit. Okay, so there is research on the one-room schoolhouse in the United States. And I'm not sure that it's like empirical research. We're talking about, there were books written about this kind of movement. They were theory crafted, I would say. But the idea is, and that the one-room schoolhouse functioned much better than the factory model school, because you had people who were on the, you had people who kind of understood something, and then you had pupils who didn't understand something, and they were all in the room together, and the teacher was teaching them, and they had to work, you had people working with the lower students or the younger age students, and through that, they were actually able to advance their own knowledge of the topic as well. And so the act of teaching in and of itself becomes a way of learning the material more deeply. That's true for academic subjects. What about for sport? And I think that the answer lies somewhere along the lines of if you are truly teaching. I think that some people just try to impart knowledge and don't really think about teaching as a process of trying to structure a person's experience and growth through a comprehensive philosophy. So if you are a teacher and you're thinking, okay, I want to teach this thing, I have to understand it more, then you start thinking about it as a system. You start trying to understand it so that you can figure out how to bring a person to understand it like you do. And so you think, okay, well, if this is the system, what is the easiest part? What is the first and most fundamental part you must understand from the system? And then what's the second part? And then you get to test those things in your daily life. Like, for example, LS. LS is a teacher of League of Legends, and he has learned a lot about the game by teaching it. At first he was probably just teaching it because he was good. And then he started thinking, what are the fundamentals of this game? And I've seen lists of fundamentals that he's made, and those have evolved. Those have changed as he has thought about them and taught and seen the results of his teaching and improved. So then he's like, okay, well, maybe this is not as fundamental as I thought. Maybe actually this is much more important, and this is kind of like just add-on stuff. And so those are the kind of things that change as you teach and you actually start to improve your understanding of the game. And then if you are continuing to play, you can deploy that understanding to get even better. So yes, teaching someone helps you learn if you are really teaching. Otherwise, it's kind of just something you're doing with your time. All right, guys, final question. Before I jump into the final question, I want to talk about my training program, the MAC. Mindfulness Acceptance Commitment Training Program. It's an online video course composed of 47 videos. Right now, it's halfway to becoming an app, the Mind Games app. And every single purchase of this program right now is going towards the development of that app, which, by the way, is not going to cost anything for those of you who are in the program. Everybody who owns the Mac program gets the app for free forever. That's part of the deal that I made when I started the Mac program 3 versions ago. This was back in 2013 when I kind of was working on the first version of this program, and I decided to do this fun model that I loved so much when the iPhone first came out, where people would sell their app and they would just continually update it for free. So you would have a version of the app, and then it would just come out, and a new version would come out, and it would have so many more cool features, and a new phone would come out, and a new version of the app would come out, and it would have so many more cool features, and I paid 99 cents for it, 2 years ago. I loved it. It was really, really fun. And so I wanted to make something similar to that in the Mac program. Pay for it once and it keeps getting better and better and better. And so that's going to happen for the last and final time in a few months here when I launch the app. And everybody gets grandfathered in. And then we're moving to a subscription model. So just forewarning on that. And also incentivizing you to help be part of the support group that builds this app from the ground up right now so that you can then utilize it later. Okay, so what is this program? My basic assertion of mental resilience comes from the philosophy of mindfulness and then acceptance and then committing yourself to behaviors that are value-driven. And this is based on pretty solid sports psychology theory and practice, and also a book written by Gardner and Moore in 2004, extrapolated upon more recently. I'm actually reading the new book. I have it right here. Oh, that's right. I inverted my camera to watch a TSM video. It says Mindful Sport Performance Enhancement, Mental Training for Athletes and Coaches. Kaufman, Glass, and Pinot. I'm excited. I'm about 1/4 of the way through, 3/4 of the way remaining. And it's really interesting to see where mindfulness research in sports psychology has come in the last 10 years, 12, 14 years now. Very, very, very positive results. And anyway, this is the program that I did with the pro teams that I work with. I did it in person, obviously, but here it is for you in video form. Use the code AskWeldon to get $5 discount and say to the software that you come from YouTube. That's what I use that code for, is to know where you came from. Or you can not use the code, keep your privacy, and give me an extra $5 to develop the app with. Up to you. All right, guys, let's jump into the last question.
Hey, Weldon, I have the following problem. In League of Legends, when something unexpected happens, so for example, a teammate gets caught by a Morgana binding or a fresh hook, I instantly start to panic and my brain sort of freezes. What I mean by that is that I start to play, or more like react, purely instinctively. My mind sort of stops working, and I go into panic mode and just do what I think on a first thought would be the right decision to make. However, since my brain sort of freezes, I oversee a lot of important cooldowns from the enemies. For example, a Locket that's still up, or a Jenna shield, or a Jenna that still has her ult. So can you help me with that?
Okay, Joey. I have some good news for you and some bad news for you, man. First of all, the good news. Yes, I can't help you with that. The bad news is this is the normal progress of skill building. So there are probably things that you instinctively track now when you go into instinct mode that you didn't instinctively track a year ago. You're probably better. You probably track, your mouse position a little bit more. You track some of your own cooldowns a little bit more. You track maybe, your teammates' health or positioning, or a barrier or something you're going to stand by instinctively, because you've incorporated them into your instincts. And the things you have not incorporated into your instincts, you are officially not good enough to have in your instincts. And when you have them in your instincts, you will be better. That's what pro players have that you don't, is they have all of the stuff that you're talking about built into their instinct now. And you building that into your instinct is what you need to do to get better. So the question is, how do you build it into your instinct? There's never a point when you step out and you logically approach every part of the game and you're just like thinking, okay, now I should do this thing and let me keep track of this thing. You run out of space in your short-term memory. You only have about 8 things that you can keep track of, genetically speaking. Unless you're some sort of superhuman, in which case you can maybe track 10 or 11 things in your short-term memory. So what we do as humans is we incorporate all of the variables that we must track, all the hundreds and thousands of variables that we want to track, into these instinctive patterns in our brain that we could execute on without needing to keep them and possess them in short-term memory and do operations on them when they're executive functioning. Okay? So it comes through volume training, and it comes through pushing yourself into the stress of having to track those until it becomes an automatic thing. So, for example, I'm teaching myself Fortnite, and I want to learn how to build and fight, right? So the normal person would be like, well, I want to go in and learn the game and learn the map and learn how to shoot, and I'll learn how to build later. I want to stretch myself, right? So I'm learning to fight while learning to build at the same time, and it's really painful and embarrassing. Because if I just focused on fighting, I'd probably do a lot better, but I'm focusing my brain on building and fighting, which means I'm doing a lot worse. But my brain is stretching in the correct way to make it an instinctive pattern of training and fighting, building and fighting together at the same time. So I'll get to the end result much faster. So what you need to do is destabilize where you are. Now, you might get worse because of this, temporarily speaking, because your brain is going to be distracted with trying to incorporate this new information. But you got to keep part of your brain set aside for this new variable. So this is the fundamental. I mean, this is like everything about training is involved in your answer. So it's really hard to answer in a short, succinct setting. But essentially, one of the reasons that I like to choose one single goal to focus on in a single game and try to get everybody who's learning something to focus exclusively on one thing is because it's so hard to get that extra space. When you go instinct mode, you need to set aside that moment and get a little bit more of your brain focused on the new thing that you want to learn and incorporate into that instinct moment. And you got to be able to remember that you need to focus on that new thing too. And that's so hard unless you've really chosen a single thing to focus on that you're going to really drill into. And then your brain goes, oh yeah, that thing. And then you're in instinct mode and you're still tracking opposing cooldowns. So for example, one drill I did to do this was I was playing Janna. I was playing Janna specifically for this drill. And I was like, my job is to interrupt the most powerful cooldown in every single skirmish with my ultimate. I will never cast my ultimate ever, or my tornado, unless I'm interrupting somebody's spell. I'm going to try to interrupt their spell every time. And that made me keep track of the opposing team's cooldowns, because that was like the whole goal of my champion, right? In my eyes for those games, for those training games. And then when I moved to another champion, I was still instinctively taking into account opposing players' ultimates, which I had started time tracking for Janna so that I could interrupt their ultimates with my ultimates, and opposing teams like a little bit their interruptible spells that I could hit with Tornado in some way, so that I would hold the Tornado in the team fight until I could like specifically target that. You know, that leap or that jump or that Tristana hop or whatever it may be. So I could keep going for ages, but I think that you get the idea here and you realize that this isn't a problem you have, but this is the normal process of improvement. And what you need to do is hone down on the specific next step you want to take and make that a priority and get your brain to step into that and take it into your instinct moments and play worse. And then start instinctively tracking it, and you'll be better than when you started off. All right. That is the show for you today, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into, I'm going to do the title graphic again, the Ask Weldon Show. Check out the new logo, everybody. Woo! Episode 190, and make sure to check out twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon if you want to see it live for the post and pre-show, as well as the Training Tuesdays here on Saturday. And I will see you guys next time.